Okay, so again, you could be using mental math to solve these, which is fine, but the process that you would be doing mentally would be 35, not like that, 35 divided by 5, which is 7, and then multiplying it, you want 4 of those groups of 7, so 28. Very good. Anna, what?
It's like weird when we write.
Yeah, I don't know why it's doing that today. Anna, what'd you do for 8/9 of 81? And what'd you get? Good. So start by splitting it into ninths, which is 9, and then you want 8 of those groups of 9, which gives us 72. Good. Grant, what about simplifying? Or did you have a question?
Yeah, I did it differently than that, but
Okay.
it's not the same answer.
What'd you get?
I did 8 divided by 9 and then times 81.
So you essentially turned your fraction into a decimal and then multiplied in your calculator. That works. Where you need to be cautious of that, though, is if you end up rounding that decimal, you're not going to get an exact answer like you would if you were doing that mental math process. Okay. What about simplifying 10/14? Caleb?
I got 5/7.
Well, that was weird. 5/7 is correct. All right, what about 18/4? What'd you get when you simplified that one? It's an improper fraction, so it should turn into a mixed number. Oh, the same few hands. Oh, there we've got some. Cohen, what do you think? 4 1/2 is correct. That would have turned into 4 2/4 first, right? And then 4 1/2 is your simplest form. Nice job. What about 30/35, Molly?
6/7.
6/7. Those are both divisible by 5. Nice job. Questions on any of those?
What was the answer? I was solving what was the answer for 1?
28. Yep. Anything else? All right, couple of things so that you are aware of where we're headed this week. So first of all, today we're going to review what we talked about on Friday with finding percents of numbers and do some practice with finding percents of numbers. You will get your study guide at the end of class. That will be due on Friday. Remember, you have your percent summative on Friday, and there will not be retakes on that one. So just one shot on that one. No class tomorrow because it's a block day, so you don't see me tomorrow. Wednesday, we've got one last skill that we're going to learn on Wednesday for the first part of the block, and then the second part of the block, I'm going to put together some task cards that are going to be a review of kind of the different things that we've covered so far this unit. After we do that Wednesday, Thursday, we're going to do a whole class review game where we're going to kind of preview what the test will look like and review that as a class, and then summative on Friday. Questions on that? All right, keep your notebooks open because we're going to do a few more practice problems in there. You need a calculator out if you did not already take one out. So on Friday, we looked at some problems like this where we were finding percents of numbers. Who can remind us, how did we find different percents, Ellie, of numbers?
You change the percent into a decimal and multiply.
Very good. So we're going to turn our percent into a decimal and then we're going to multiply. So for example, if we have the percent 62%, remember we turn it by moving the decimal 2 places back to the left. So 1, 2, this is going to turn into 0.62 times 40. Do we remember talking about that? Okay, I'm going to give you about a minute and a half. I want you to see if you can come up with answers for these 3 problems real quick. Go ahead and do that now. All right, what'd you get for the first one? 62% of 40. Sam?
I thought we were doing 52.
Yeah, we need to solve this first one first. So I'll come back to you for the second one. Aria, did you get the first one?
I'm pretty sure it's, I got 24.8.
24.8. Do we agree?
Mm-hmm.
Very good. Okay, Sam, what'd you do for the second one then?
I moved the decimals 2 places to the left of 52.
Okay, got
0.52 and then times 10, which is 5.2.
good. 0.52 times 10 is 5.2. And Evie, what'd you do for the last one?
Move the decimal 2 places to the left, which is 0.06, and then multiply it by 48, which is 2.88.
Good. That last one threw some people off earlier today. Okay, if you got 28.8 for the last one instead of 2.88, if you got 28.8, what you did is you just made the decimal 0.6 times 48, which is 28.8. 0.6 though is not 6%. What percent is 0.6? 60%. So you've got to make sure that you're always moving that decimal back 2 places to the left. Any single digit percents are going to be 0.0 something. Okay. And one thing you can do when you're doing this is check and make sure your answer makes sense. If I'm finding 6% of 48, is it going to be a relatively small or big number compared to 48? Small. 6% is a small portion. So if I get 28 as 6% of 48, that's more than half of 48. So that doesn't make sense that if I'm looking for 6% of it, that I would end up with more than half of it. Okay, so if you picture what percentage of the whole that is, it should tell you if it's going to be a small or a big number. The other thing you should also pay attention to is if I'm finding any percent of a number, any percent less than 100%, is it going to be more or less than the number I started with? Less. If I'm looking for a percent smaller than 100%, it should always be less than the number I started with. Okay? All right, so we're going to do a couple more problems with this, but I have to tell you guys, I did some thinking this weekend. You guys know it's my birthday on Friday, and so I spent the weekend just reflecting on, like, man, another year older, and, like, am I, like, living up to all of my life's dreams? And I really realized that I have a big dream that I have not... Huh?
Bring us ice cream.
told me.
Oh, well, that's
your dream.
no, that would be a dream. No, like, I'm not living up to my, like, life's dreams and wishes. And one of my things that I'm like, man, I really should be doing this is I think I'm going to be leaving teaching, and I am going to be looking to tour with Justin. I feel like I should... Wait. Why are you sighing? Like, I'm serious. This is a life dream. So, like, I figure, though, if I'm going to go on tour with Justin, like, I need to make myself marketable. So he's like, yes, Mrs. Wainscott, you should come tour with me. So I decided this weekend that I need to, like, learn to play guitar so that I can, like, provide something. So I went out this weekend and I found Guitar Hero at Best Buy. It's going to help me learn how to teach or how to play guitar. $49.99 for Guitar Hero, but good news was I had a 20% off birthday coupon to use. So I want you to tell me, how much money did I spend on Guitar Hero after that 20% discount? Go ahead, see if you can solve this real quick. Take a minute and solve this.
20% of 40.
You are going to keep it $49.99. Every year I have people, and I had somebody this morning say, well, can I just make that $50? I would argue when you are the person who is working and doing the job and earning the money, you're not going to want to round it up. You're going to pay that exact amount. If you see something in the store that's $49.99, you're not going to be like, I'll just give you $50 and call it a day. No, every penny counts. Okay, go ahead and take a minute, and we'll go through an answer here in just a minute. Tell me what you do. Caleb.
Well, I turned 20% to a decimal,
Yep, which was?
0.0.
Good.
Then I multiplied it by 49, got 99,
Good.
and then my answer was 9.99.
Okay, so I think it was 9.9989, yes?
Yes.
Okay, so this is where we want to round. If we're talking money, this rounded to the hundredths place, $10.
You saved $10.
$10.
But then you have to minus.
So I paid $10 for
No.
guitar?
You paid $40.
No, you put.
Or no.
No, she paid
You got $10 off.
I got $10 off. So I'm going to take the original price, $49.99, and subtract the $10 that I saved, which means I paid $39.99. Okay. I can tell some of you were confused about, like, why did I round this and not this? Okay, my given price, $49.99, was already to the hundredths place. I can't, or I'm not going to round that up because it already went to the right place value. I had to round the decimal I got when I multiplied because that went beyond the hundredths place. So I have to use the rules of rounding for that. Okay, so $39.99 for the Guitar Hero, and I am going to be a rock star here pretty soon. But the problem is,
I have to.
we were driving home from Best Buy and Cooper was like, okay, Mom, but like, do you really think this minivan is like the vibe for a rock star? And I was like, you know what? You're right. I'm not going to be guitar savant and being this great musician traveling the world with Justin in my minivan. So I did what any right-minded person would do. I went home and got on Craigslist and looked for a car, and I found this beauty. Yes. That definitely is like a rock star's car. And this guy's had this listed on Craigslist for $50,000, and he was like, look, I just want to sell this car. So if you buy it within the week, I will give you 30% off if you buy it from me this week. So I need you guys to help me figure out, if I go buy this car this week and it's 30% off, tell me how much I'm going to spend. Take a minute and figure that out. I'm going to be a whole vibe here.
Just don't buy that.
Okay, what'd you do, Ellie?
I got 35,000.
How'd you get 35,000?
I made 30 the decimal with 0.5, and then I did 50,000 times 0.3, and then I got 15,000, and then 50,000 minus 15,000.
Good. So this 15,000 is the 30%, which we said is the discount amount. So then Ellie had to take the original price, the $50,000, and subtract that discount of 15,000. That I'm going to be paying $35,000 for that car. Just seems like a lot of money, but if it gets me my dream, it's priceless practically, I feel like. He probably won't fit in the car with me and the guitar, but you know what? Sometimes I'll come back and visit. Obviously. No, it's a tiny car. It's not like a family vehicle. It's for me and my guitar to go tour the world. All right. So here's what we're going to focus on this class period. You're going to do I've got to figure out my dreams, so you guys are going to get to work while I do a little bit more research on this. Just kidding. You're going to do some practice percent problems, though. Before I pass this worksheet out, I am going to tell you one of the biggest mistakes I've seen today. If I have, okay, this one was 30%. We turned 30% into a decimal, and that decimal was 0.30. If I had, let's say, 5%, what would the decimal of 5% be, Caleb?
0.05.
Yep, so we're moving it back 2 places, and it's 0.05. What happens if I had, let's say, a tax rate of 6.75%? Can I just leave that as 6.75 because the decimal's already there? No. Whenever there is a percent sign on the number, it is in percent form. We have to turn it into decimal form. People have gotten confused because they're like, well, that one already has the decimal. Well, I would argue these top two already have decimals too. They just weren't written. 30 is the same thing as 30.0. 5 is the same thing as 5.0. So they had decimals, they just weren't written in. So same thing, we've got to move this decimal back 2 places. Our decimal here is going to be 0.0675. Nope, I'm going to leave it as an exact, because that's not a money amount. The ones you have to round to the hundredths place are when it's money. This is a percent, so we want to keep our percent accurate and exact. Okay? Now, when I plug this in, I'm probably going to get a decimal that goes past the hundredths place if I'm talking about money. And that answer I'm going to round if it's money to the hundredths place. But I'm not going to cut my decimals off for my percentages. Okay? Evie?
If it's not money, what do you round it to?
If it's not money, you can still round it to the hundredths, but don't round your decimals. Round your answers. Does that make sense? Okay, I'm going to pass out a practice worksheet. I think it's got 5 or 6 problems where you're going to be practicing. It's got a variety of things. Discounts, so like we just practiced where we subtract. It's got tax, it's got tip. If it's tax or tip, what do I do with those when I get an answer at the end? Do I subtract them still? I'm adding them. Tax and tip get added to our original price, not subtracted. Okay, I'm going to let you pick who you work with for this. Let me get these passed out first, and then we'll get to work.